Hello, everyone. This is Nikki Tobias with Grounded Vision Coaching. I actually just finished this morning a radio show about grief, and I thought maybe I would share some of that information with you here today because I feel like there's a lot of grief happening in our world right now, right? Whether it's school shootings or terrorism, whether it's loss of a family member or a friend or a colleague, maybe it's the loss of a physical ability we once had or the loss of a pet. There's so many ways that we can experience loss in our lives and this sense of grief. And so in my research, Kubler-Ross was the initial creator of the 5 stages of grief, but how she reported it in her first book many, many years ago, people understood that to be this sort of linear process that everybody goes through, that everybody experiences these 5 stages of grief, and that there's somehow generalizable ways, like that everybody went through every part, and there was a certain amount of time that happened. And in her later work, she's passed away not too long ago, but in her later work, she really talks about how that wasn't how she meant it at all. That it's likely people will go through these stages, but that it may not be linear. That there's not a set amount of time that happens. That she's just offering information about people that she's studied that are going through grief. And so the 5 stages of grief are denial. And so that doesn't mean that you don't realize that your physical ability or that pet or that loved one is gone. It's more the sense that you expect to come home to your partner because you'd always come home to your partner. And so you have this, just in your head, you're thinking like, let me get home and make dinner for that person, even though they may have passed, or get home to feed the pet, even though the pet isn't there anymore, expecting the pet to be at the door when you come home. And there's a shock and a numbness around the denial of that loss. Another stage in grief is anger. So really just being angry that maybe the person didn't take good care of themselves. Angry at yourself if you were the caregiver, that you didn't take good care of yourself, or that you didn't protect your pet from injury or illness. Angry that you feel like maybe you've been left behind by the person or the pet. Angry at the doctors or a veterinarian. Angry at your body for failing you somehow. And, you even miscarriages, right? Gosh, I can't imagine the pain that somebody goes through when they have a miscarriage. But I've heard women talk about their bodies failing them in that way. The third stage of grief is bargaining. So bargaining with God or some sort of higher power, even just sort of the universe, that you'll behave differently in the world if the person wouldn't die, or take me instead of them. This sense that I'll behave differently in the world if you don't let them be taken from me. So bargaining is the third stage of grief. The fourth is depression. I mean, we can make a lot of sense of that, right? The sadness around losing our ability to physically do something, or losing a person, losing a pet. Even losing your job, getting divorced, right? There's a lot of sadness and pain and struggle that happens when we lose something that helped us identify who we were and were such a big part of our lives. And so it can feel like you don't want to get out of bed, you don't want to eat, you don't want to cook, you don't want to talk to people. It's hard to concentrate, it's hard to think, it's hard to do the things that you're used to doing from day to day. That would be the depression phase. And then the fifth phase is acceptance. And again, this isn't that it makes it okay that the thing or the person that was lost is lost. It's just a sense that you're still here in the world, and that you have your own journey to go on, and learning to live in this new normal that exists without the person or the thing that you lost. Not an official stage of grief, but some of the other research I did talked about folks feeling a sense of relief that maybe the person or the animal's suffering is over, a sense of regret for the things we wish we had said or done, or the things that we did say or do that we wish we hadn't said or done, and a real sense of isolation, right? This disconnection from the people around you. You can be surrounded by people and not feel connected at all and still feel really alone and lonely. And so I talk in the radio show about all the things that you can do to take care of yourself. The number one thing being rest if you're experiencing grief. To rest, to watch or play sports, to exercise, to make sure that you're eating and drinking well, trying to gather together with people, reading, learning about grief or the grieving process to help understand that you're not alone. Volunteer, take on a cause, attend a church or follow spiritual practices, find ways to honor your loved one. For those of us that might be trying to support someone we care about in their own loss, the number one thing that we're encouraged to do is to keep in touch with that person. Most of the time, people aren't sure what to say or do, and so they just kind of go away for the griever, the mourner. So the best thing we can do is to be there, whether we're sitting in silence and we're listening, or we're face to face, dropping someone a message, connecting with them on social media, giving them a call. Maybe they want somebody to hold their hand or share a hug. We could bring them flowers. We could make meals, right? That's something we tend to do in America, is make folks meals when they're grieving. We can talk about that loved one, check in on holidays, anniversaries, maybe it's Mother or Father's Day, the person's birthday, but really avoiding saying, I know how you feel, or you can try to get pregnant again. It was God's will. It's all for the best. He's out of pain now, because that can feel really diminutive and kind of condescending to somebody who might be experiencing that loss. And that goes back to my video the other day about the difference between empathy, sympathy, and pity, right? Is that we can empathize, we can try to imagine what it feels like to be that person and to have that loss, but we'll never experience it the way that they do. Sympathy is, maybe you've lost a parent and that person's lost a parent, and so you feel like there are ways you could sympathize with them, but even then you don't view the world through the same lenses that they do, so there really is no way to truly understand what it feels like to be them. And I go into the radio show actually about the loss of a pet and why that hits some of us so strongly, so deeply, and what we can do to help honor our pets and those animals that we've lost. So I posted the link to the radio show in the notes section of the Facebook page. So if grieving is something that you'd want to learn more about, check that out. All the other links for my solo shows and my co-hosted shows are on there too. I'd love for you to listen. And I wanted to do a shout out. I received an email today from somebody who's been really consistently watching the videos, and she said that how much they meant to her and how she's made it a part of her every day, and how she really appreciates the encouraging messages. And so I wanted to say thank you. That really made my day. And like I said to y'all yesterday, maybe in the video, it's hard to keep making these videos and to want to keep doing this when there's sort of crickets out there, right? When I'm not hearing what people are loving or any feedback, and people aren't commenting or sharing. So there's lots of people viewing these Facebook Lives but not saying or doing anything about them, and so it's hard for me to know what that means. But if you like this, like it, share it, comment on it, and if you have a vision for your life, something that you'd like to improve, something that you'd like to be different, you want to try a free coaching discovery call, I'd love to chat with you. So I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.